So the movie starts with a pregnant woman bleeding from her neck, and she presumably dies. We cut to the present day, where this guy is being taken by his girlfriend to a surprise. They end up going to a meat factory nightclub, and then the sprinklers begin pouring blood, revealing that everyone is a vampire, and they all start to gang up on the guy until Blade shows up. He makes quick work of the basic partygoer vampires, and then this other vampire Quinn shows up with some more vampires, so Blade takes them all out in more awesome kills, and then pins Quinn to a wall, after which he sets him on fire. We cut to Quinn in the hospital, where he's being examined by a hematologist, Karen, as well as another doctor, Curtis, until he awakens, kills Curtis, and bites Karen. Blade shows up and saves Karen, though Quinn is able to escape. Blade ends up taking Karen, and they manage to escape the police. We cut to Blade arriving at his safe house, where we meet Whistler, Blade's ally in his war against the vampires, and they decide to try to help her. Meanwhile, at a meeting of pureblood vampire elders, we meet the villain of the movie, Deacon Frost, who tries to instigate a war between vampires and humans, and the council also hates him because he's not a pureblood. Karen wakes up and sees Whistler injecting Blade with the serum. Whistler gives her vampire mace, and then Blade takes her back to her house. Frost is met by one of the heads of the council, Dragonetti, while trying to decipher ancient vampire texts. After Karen returns home, she is attacked by Krieger, a cop, though Blade arrives and knocks him out. It turns out Krieger is a familiar, a vampire wannabe under Frost's command, and he's in the middle of a blood run. He escapes, and Blade and Karen follow him to his delivery site. Frost is finally able to decipher the text, and then kills Krieger for his failure. Karen and Blade meet Pearl, and a beast vampire tells him about Frost's plan to awaken the blood god, the Magra. They find ancient vampire texts, and then are ambushed by Quinn and more vampires, who quickly overwhelm Blade until Whistler arrives as backup. They escape, and Whistler reveals to Karen that Blade has all the vampire strengths and none of their weaknesses except the thirst. Frost ends up kidnapping, defanging, and leaving Dragonetti to die in the sunrise, and then takes over the council. While trying to come up with a cure for Blade's thirst, Karen brings him EDTA, a chemical that becomes explosive when in contact with vampire blood. It's also revealed they didn't catch Karen's bite in time, and she's not got much longer to live. Blade encounters Frost on the street, who tries to make a truce, so Blade obviously declines and tries to kill him right there. Frost ends up escaping, and while Karen is able to come up with a cure for herself, he makes it to the safe house, where he beats Whistler, has him bitten, and abducts Karen. Blade arrives to find a barely alive Whistler, who asks Blade for his gun and seemingly kills himself off screen. Blade prepares to go after Frost, and when he arrives, starts slaughtering all the vampires until he encounters his mother, now a vampire herself, which distracts him long enough for Frost to knock him out. They take Blade and Karen, and after a couple very uncomfortable scenes involving Blade and his mother, they start draining him of his blood to prepare for the ritual of the blood god. Karen ends up escaping captivity and makes it to Blade, where she ends up giving him some of her blood for strength. He powers up and ends up killing his mom, and then we get the best scene in the movie. He ends up slaughtering a bunch of vampire fodder and then takes on Frost, who at this point has become the vessel of the blood god. He finds that he isn't able to hurt Frost until he uses his EDTA.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Blade and Karen escape, and Blade declines the cure, and the movie ends with him hunting in Moscow.
Tavares.
There was actually an alternate ending filmed with Morbius, though it was cut as New Line didn't actually own the rights to the character. Ah, Blade. What can I say? It saved Marvel from bankruptcy as well as becoming the first real Marvel movie, though I don't know how many people back then actually knew it was based on a comic, let alone Marvel. Some of the CGI hasn't aged great, but it adds to the overall campiness of the movie, which is already pretty over the top. Now, is this movie important to the story of Doomsday and Secret Wars? Well, I'd say it's possible that he'll come back, considering he already appeared in the MCU back in Deadpool and Wolverine, but it's also hard to say considering Snipes' age. I'm gonna say regardless of whether or not he appears, this is a must-watch.